so happy you're back with us. We are here today with two incredible people. And I'm so excited for you guys to get to know them. I'm excited to dive more into things and to get to know you guys better. But we have Colby and Mckenzie Bauer here.
Yay.
Yay. They are the owners of Thread Wallets. They have like an amazing nonprofit. They do a ton in the community here in Utah, but they're so much more than that. And I want to just dive into their stories. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for
This is
having
awesome.
us.
We're so excited to get to know you guys better. So I just want to jump into things and kind of introduce yourselves.
Okay. Yeah. I grew up in Arizona. I'm 34 years old, so born in 1989. We have three little girls.
You say, I'm Colby Bauer, and I was born in 1989. Taylor Swift.
I'm not a Swiftie.
Swifties will know that.
Yes, they will.
I grew up with three older sisters and a dad that treated me like a king.
Okay.
Wow.
So he's
cool.
just like to give you just a quick background on my dad. My dad's very like, he was like kind of like your typical jock. So like quarterback in high school, wrestler. He was in the rodeo. He raced snowmobiles, dirt biked. And then once you have three girls, then it's like going to gymnastics and dance recitals.
Yes.
And then when I came along, I'm the youngest of the four. It was like, I got my little boy, so I was spoiled. I was spoiled for sure. So, but I grew up doing a lot of just like outdoorsy things and action sports and traditional sports. I played soccer all growing up, played golf, played baseball, played soccer in college at BYU.
Cool.
and BYU Hawaii. So I was bouncing back and forth.
Okay, wow.
Like I said, we have three little girls. They're the best. We have a 7-year-old Ray, 4-year-old Scotty, and a 1-year-old Sunny.
Okay.
And I couldn't be more happy than being a girl dad. It's the best.
I love that. I love that.
They're the best.
Yes, yeah, they are the best. I'm Mckenzie Bauer, Colby's wife, obviously, and I was born in 1992, so 31. I lived and grew up just down the street here in Provo, Utah. I went to Timpview High School, so Utah is in my blood. Went to BYU Hawaii for school and graduated in 2013, so 10, 11 years ago this year. I studied international cultural studies and peace building. So conflict resolution, mediation was kind of my background and what I thought that I would do in my life. But then a month after graduating, I met Colby, and the rest is history.
Wait, so did you guys meet each other in Hawaii?
In a very kind of roundabout way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the short answer.
Okay.
The longer answer is I lived in the home that she babysat at, but I never once saw her. It was like...
No, you saw me in Hawaii.
But not in that home. Like,
not at
near
that
the home.
house.
I only saw her one time. She said she's seen me twice. I was at a friend's. She was selling rings at this little market, and
Cool.
I was hanging out with her. And then Mckenzie was out just about to go surfing, so she had her longboard and she was headed out. And it was literally like, "Hey, I'm Mckenzie. I'm Colby. Nice to meet you. Have fun surfing." That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Like
Okay.
But the funny thing is that we had multiple friends that told me that you would be perfect for me.
Yeah.
Like they knew, because it was his first semester at BYU Hawaii and it was my last. So I was like, I don't really want to get in a relationship right now. Like I'm graduating.
Yeah.
But Bree and Amber and then Bree.
Yeah.
Our
Just
other
wild
bride.
that we had. I mean,
Like everyone was like, you've
so
got to
many
meet Colby. You'd be
mutual
perfect
friends.
together. Like you've got to, but it just didn't happen.
Yeah. So then, fast forward, I was finishing, I had one more semester at BYU in Provo.
Okay.
So I had moved back and she had graduated. So she moved back to Provo in her parents' home. And then we had a friend, Bree, from a mutual friend from Hawaii, come to visit Utah, and she was staying at Mckenzie's home. And I was hanging out with Bree, and Bree was like, "Yeah, I'm just staying with Mckenzie." And she said it as if I should know who Mckenzie was, but
Yeah.
I didn't know. But I was just like one of those things, like, "Yeah, oh, cool, Mckenzie, how's she doing?" Like, I had no idea. And but Mckenzie was picking up Bree, and I was like, I gotta know who this Mckenzie girl is, because I don't know if I just don't recognize her name, and maybe I know her face. So I went outside when she picked up Bree, and I didn't.
You almost
recognize
slipped.
I almost ate it. Yeah, I did. I was
On the ice.
icy. But I was like, dang, I needed to get to know Mckenzie. She's
Yeah.
beautiful. And so, but I was too shy. I was never forward with girls. I was always afraid to like ask for the number and like do that whole thing.
Okay.
And
I can relate to that.
yeah. Really? Yeah. And at this time, I was addicted to Yogurtland. And so I was, I can't remember where I was coming back from, but I was passing Yogurtland. I was like, oh, I'm going to stop and get yogurt. It's like midday. And Mackenzie and her good friend Maggie were at Yogurtland. It was just us. And we recognized each other. And I was like awkward because I didn't know if I should sit with them or
You were by
like,
yourself.
I was by myself. So
Yeah.
you were like, come sit with us. And so I sat with them. You can tell this part of the story.
Oh yeah, you sat with us and we talked for like 30 minutes while we ate our yogurt, and then as we left, my friend Maggie was like, "How long have you known that guy?" And I was like, "I don't know him." Like, that was the first time we've really spoken, and she was like, "Well, you have to get to know him. Like, you guys would be so good together." And that was like the fourth person that had told me that I should get to know him, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know." But I went for it and I was like, Colby, we should hang out sometime. And I got his number and yeah, we started texting and hanging out and the rest is history.
Well, there's a part of the story. So I had this group going. It's like Taco Tuesdays every Tuesday at Rubio's, best fish tacos
Yes,
ever.
I'm sad that they're gone.
Right? I know.
So
So good.
sad.
Rubio's tacos, fish
Yeah.
tacos.
They really are so
good.
freaking good.
I know. So I would rally like, honestly, some weeks it was like 20 people.
I love
We were
that.
just, like,
I
cruising
love
it.
that.
And it was like one of those easy ways to meet new people, but it wasn't like, it didn't have to be a date. You know? So it was kind of that way. And I was like, well, I'll invite you to Taco Tuesday next week. And so I told her that I'd text her on Tuesday.
After your class.
Yeah, after my class to just see if she could come. And I was going through, I realized I didn't save her number, so she was just like an 801 number, you know? So I was like scrolling through looking for 801 numbers. And so I texted her. I was like, you down for Taco Tuesday tonight? And she just said no. And I was like, okay, maybe next week, you know? Like, and then the following week, I was like, oh, okay, I'll just invite her again.
Yeah.
And so I'm scrolling through looking for that 801 number. And I click on the 801 number and I scrolled up to see if it was her. And I realized it was actually this girl. Her name was Trisha. She was a married woman. And
oh no.
And she was like helping me sew this project for school. And I realized I had just invited her to Taco Tuesday.
On a date.
And I was like, dang, like I thought I just got turned down. And then I was like,
thought he was ignoring me. I was like,
oh no.
so
Oh
she's
no.
Like another like a douchebag that just never texts, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, she'll never believe me. So I screenshot it and I sent it. And I was like, this is what happened.
Right.
I was like, you down for Taco Tuesday tonight? So then that's when we
Hung out. Yeah. And then we were there together every day.
Yeah.
So
After that was game on.
We dated for 3 months, got engaged, and then 3 months later we were married. So it was
Whoa.
very,
So fast.
very quick.
Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
love that. We love a quick love story.
It was very quick.
It was kind of weird though, 'cause the timing was weird because I was going out to Hawaii in that fall.
Okay.
And we had met like in January, and so we had been dating, and I was like, I wanted to have like a year under my belt of dating. That was kind of like my personal rule, but then I already knew.
Went out the window.
Yeah, and I was kind of also like, my dad had a big influence on like that kind of timing and making sure. My parents got divorced when I was 14, so so it was kind of like good advice. Like I was like, okay, yeah, that's smart. I need to take my time. Well, I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm really loving Mckenzie and I could see ourselves getting married, but I'm going off to Hawaii. And maybe she'll come out with me. And he's like, absolutely, you're not going out to Hawaii, just you two, not married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like said that. And I was like, so do you think like getting married before Hawaii makes sense? And he's like, if you know, you know. And that was like the approval that I needed.
That's all you needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was it. Like coming from my dad, he's like, when you know, you know. I like immediately walked out of the office with my dad and I took her on a walk and I was like, what do you think about getting married in August?
That's how you said it?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we sat down, we were just like holding hands and we talked about that. And that was I remember that moment. And so, yeah, that was it. I proposed and we got married that August. And then we spent our honeymoon in Kauai for like a week.
Okay.
Wow.
And then immediately from Kauai,
Flew to Oahu.
flew to Oahu to finish school. So we lived like pretty much our
Wow.
extended honeymoon was for like 4 or 5 months.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, so fun.
It was the best.
It was a good time.
So fun.
And then you came back to Utah.
Then we came back to
I was
Utah.
gonna say, let's go
and
back to Hawaii.
Started a company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, so-
amazing, you guys.
Walk us through that. So you guys are married, newlywed. Like, how soon after you guys were married did you guys start your
Okay.
business?
So backing up,
Yeah.
so like think about 3 months before we actually met. I was living in Hawaii.
Okay.
And I had lost my wallet in the ocean. I have pretty bad ADHD, and I like always forget stuff. And I, like,
That's Matt. Okay. You guys would get
yeah,
along
right on.
great. Okay.
And I forgot my wallet was in my board shorts, and I went surfing, and there goes my wallet to the
Yeah.
ocean. And it wasn't the first wallet that I lost. And I knew the drill. You know, you get your credit cards and your student ID and all the stuff, your IDs and stuff. And then I went on to go buy a new wallet, and I just typed in men's wallets on Google, and I just realized like there wasn't anything I liked. It was kind of just that same, I call it the George Costanza wallet from
Okay.
Seinfeld, like just that
Just super
thick,
fat,
Thick,
yeah.
fat.
fat,
Yeah.
like is leather. I didn't want leather because like I was always in wet board shorts, so I didn't want it to get all
Yeah.
messed up, and I wanted to be more minimalist. I only had like 4 cards, I think, and I never used cash, so I was like, I don't know. So I didn't buy anything. But then at that point, like all my cards were coming back, and I like didn't. So I just like carried in my backpack. I didn't ever have like a wallet to hold them.
Uh-huh.
But then I went to the grocery store, and like I had all my cards in my hand, and I was like, what am I gonna do? Like I just need something to tie these together, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking about that, and I see this rubber band around the like asparagus and the broccoli, you know, in the vegetable aisle. And it was like a thick rubber band. I was like, that'd be perfect. So I snagged one of those, and I just wrapped it around my cards, and I was like, that's actually perfect. And I loved how small it was. And anyway, so that became my wallet. Fast forward in that semester, I was supposed to do a school project where I come up with like this product idea and
Okay.
launch it on Kickstarter.
Okay.
And so I was thinking through, like, had my idea journal. I had done a number of like different ventures. I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. And so I was going through all my ideas, and I was like, this wallet category is just wide open for disruption. Like it's just the sea of sameness. And
Yeah.
at the time, this was 2014, Stance socks was like a rocket ship.
Yeah.
Like they were just crushing it. I was seeing it in every skate shop, every surf
Everybody
shop.
had those, yeah.
Everyone was having, and it was like that model of taking this boring category and just like pumping life into it
Yeah. Mhm.
was really intriguing. So I was like, what if I did that with wallets? So I did my research, and I launched this product on Kickstarter. Didn't do anything crazy, but it was enough to get some validation, get some product out there, and get
And that's
some
around
feedback.
this time we started dating.
So yeah, then I moved back to
okay.
Provo. We met, and I'm thinking of a way to print onto this elastic. You know, I'm trying to think of like, how does this become a Stance
Yeah.
socks of
Yeah.
wallets? You know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it's got to be this easy way to print on it. You know, whatever. And I remember I went to this shop in Orem, of all places. I found this place that printed on shirts and stuff, and I took some white elastic I bought at Joann's Fabric, and I walked in. I was like, "Hey, can I try printing on this?" And they let me try it. It's called this process called sublimation. And they do all these funky prints, but he had this like poop emoji pattern,
Okay.
and he put it on the elastic, and he heat pressed it, and it turned out like perfect. And I was
Wow.
so
Seriously?
yeah, like first try, and I was like, whoa, like this is it. Because in my head, obviously the poop emoji was one thing, but it was like the fact that I could do any print or
That you
any
wanted
color,
to.
any pattern, anything I wanted on this elastic, like it would work, and it stretched well, everything would work well. So I took it back to Mackenzie, and we were like, just started dating. Like, I'm not kidding, like days into dating. And I'm like, I think I got this like brilliant idea. And
Yeah.
she's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, like this.
Is a rubber band with a poop emoji on it? Like,
So
Brilliant idea.
now I needed a way to sew, and because I had this little apartment where I had like super glue and staple, and I was doing like all my prototypes like that, but I was like, I need to sew like a proper prototype, and I found out she had a sewing machine. She's like, come over and we can sew. So we actually were talking about this the other day on Valentine's Day. She remembered the first time I like touched her.
Yeah.
It was when she was sewing, and I like touched her back.
cute.
And,
yeah.
and that was it. Like, and that was like, she was sewing the wallet that's like now our company that
Yeah.
we're
Oh my gosh.
running 10 years later. So it's just kind
Yeah.
of a funny, like, she sewed that wallet, and she actually had the idea for the key ring.
Okay.
And so she helped refine the product, and then we launched a second Kickstarter campaign after we got married, I was kind of trying to figure out, like, do we start this thing? Like, is this...
Yeah.
Do I go get a job? Yeah.
Because we had taken some to Hawaii to kind of test the market.
Yeah.
We got some feedback, and
We did farmers markets and
Yeah.
got him into a couple retail stores out there.
it was good feedback. Like, we were stoked on it, but at the same time, it's scary when you're like, do we take the leap as newlyweds?
Yeah.
And, you know, coming from a dad and her dad are both financial advisors, which is very, like, secure
Yes.
job, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, like, I remember when I asked her dad if I could marry her, and he was like, if you don't take care of my daughter, I'm going to kill you. Like,
Yeah.
and I laughed just like that, and he
He's dead
did
serious.
it. Yeah, and
He's
I was
like,
like,
"I'm
okay.
serious."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm the only girl, so my
Yeah.
dad's very protective.
Okay.
Wow.
So anyway, that was that pressure, and I'm just thinking, like, I should probably get a corporate job. And she's like, you know what? If we're ever gonna do this, it's got to be now. Like, we don't have much payments. Like, we could go move in with my mom and dad.
Yeah.
Back in
Beautiful.
Utah.
Yeah.
Like, we wouldn't have bills. Like, we don't have kids. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, so what? Let's crunch some numbers. And we were sitting on the edge of the bed, and I was like, okay, if we could do like 5 wallets a day, if we could just,
5
like,
to
I'll
10
just go door to
wallets.
door if we need to. So 5 wallets a day.
Yeah.
Like, we could fund this lifestyle. It's like 60 grand a year or something. You know?
Yeah.
And she's like, let's do this thing. And
Yeah.
she kicked me into gear, and we,
When we said we'll give ourselves 6 months.
Yeah.
We're like, this was January of 2015.
Wow.
After we'd sold them at farmers markets and stuff. And we're like, okay, we'll give ourselves 6 months and
Yeah.
see if it goes anywhere. And if it doesn't, we'll pivot. But
Yeah.
if it goes somewhere, then great. And within that 6 months, we launched another Kickstarter, launched our website, grew our social media, and saw a lot of traction.
yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was awesome.
One point that I feel kind of impressed to share is that, like, for me, it was hard to make that leap because coming from, like, that traditional mindset.
Yeah.
My dad always supported my entrepreneurial ventures, no doubt, but I was still scared when it came down to, like, a real career.
Mm-hmm.
I was scared to have that conversation with him because I had kind of told him that I wanted to work with him eventually, and, like, eventually maybe take over the firm.
Yeah.
So I was like, is that like, that's a hard one for me. I don't want to break it to him, you know? And so when I called him, I was like, you know, I don't know if, like, financial planning's for me. I had done 2 summer internships with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't feeling it. And his first reaction, he like literally said, what about that wallet idea?
Wow. How
And that-
cool.
Right. And, like, I thought I was going to get scolded or, like, you know, be responsible here kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he instead was like, I used the wallet that I got from your Kickstarter campaign. I love it. I send it to all my clients. Like, they love it.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And he, like, that again,
really
back
cool.
to this, like, vote of confidence where I was like, that's what I needed. That's all I needed. And luckily it came from my dad.
Yeah.
A lot of entrepreneurs may not have a family member like that, but if
Yeah.
it's a friend or if it's a mentor or anybody, like, I feel like that's what I needed. I'm sure a lot of people just need that to, like, take that leap because it's scary, you know? So
Yeah.
I was
That-
even gonna ask you, like, do you think that you still would have done it being a newlywed had she not said go for it?
yeah, because I also felt that, like, that pressure to, like, get some money and just provide
To
security.
provide or support, yeah.
And so obviously
that
like,
was the one thing you knew.
Yeah, and in Utah, like, summer sales is kind of
Yep.
an easy way to make a lot of cash. So I proposed to her. I was like, if I don't get a corporate job, that's fine. But, like, maybe I do a summer of just summer sales, get
Yeah.
some money,
Yeah.
and then we can start something later.
Cool.
But she was like, no,
Now's
we're
the
starting,
time.
like, if you're going to spend the time working your butt off, like, just let's work our butt off on our own business.
Yes.
And so we took the leap, and again,
Yeah,
we're
I forgot
fortunate.
about those conversations about summer sales. I was
Yeah.
like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
That's
wanna
fine.
Maybe it was selfish, like you didn't want to go.
No, I don't want
travel.
to, like, move to, like, Tennessee for
Yeah.
like 3 months and then have to come back and go back and forth. No thanks.
But
See-
we were lucky. We had
Yeah.
her parents too. We could just move into her bedroom, her childhood bedroom, and
That's
so that all
amazing.
worked out.
Yeah, you guys did it the polar opposite of what we did it. Like we got married, had 4 kids, and now we're starting our own thing.
I know.
When it
That's-
was like, okay, cool.
That's even more impressive. Like
Yeah.
to
It's
take-
impressive,
you
but
have
at the
more
same
ways.
time, yeah.
You're doing it. It doesn't. It's never too
Thank
late.
you.
My mom's restarting her life at 65. Like it's
Amazing, yeah.
She's starting her own thing too. So
That's awesome.
It's
Never too late, yeah.
I love that. Okay, Mackenzie, talk to me about your decision making. I wish I knew, like, your birthday and everything. So I don't know if you know this about. So us, like, so I do know your birthday because you told us. But we're into human design. Are you into human design at all? Do you know anything about human design?
Is that like the enneagrams and stuff?
Kind of. It tells you like your personality stuff. Anyways, I would almost bet money that your authority is sacral authority, which means that you trust your gut a lot. Is that true?
I would say so. Do you think I'm like a pretty like...
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if your gut is like, yes, okay, cool. You guys are just talking and I'm like, I feel like all those decisions like early on with you guys is like... Mckenzie was like, no, like we're gonna do this, and like I feel like I'm really similar in that scenario, and like you have a really cool. Is it a nonprofit? Is Female Founders a nonprofit? Like what is Female
it's
Founders?
an organization.
Organization.
Yeah.
Okay, so you tell us about Female Founders really quick because I want you to share the story just because it fits right in. I know I'm jumping like all over the place really quick.
It's okay.
But I think you're looking for a specific story, so you'll have to like.
I will tell you, but tell me about Female Founders, and then I will because it has to do with your gut.
Okay, great. Female Founders Only. I mean, we've been in business for, this is our 9th year, right? And 2 years ago, I got invited to go to Israel with a group of female founders. A nonprofit flew us out there and we traveled together, and it was really, really an amazing experience. And something bonds you with people or nothing bonds you with people like travel does, right? Like you're out of your comfort zone, and you really have to have deep conversations and get to know people. And I just went by myself with this group of women that I'd never met before. So went out there, traveled. It was awesome. Such a cool experience. And then I came home and I was like, I really want to provide other female entrepreneurs that type of experience. Like men historically get a lot of the networking dollars, like golf and lunches and things like that. And I know so many female founders, obviously, because that's kind of who I've networked with over the past 10 years of business. And I was like, I want to provide those similar opportunities, whether it's like small localized events or travel events. So last year I just a friend of mine did the branding and just put our heads together and created like a pretty small entity called Female Founders Only. And we did 2 trips last year. We did one to Glacier, Montana, and then one to Morocco. Okay. And we are planning a couple of retreats this year, but we just take groups of women to travel together, and it's not really like business focused. Like I don't have like courses or like things planned, but it's just more like the natural learnings that take place when you're communicating and getting to know each other. And then we just do small localized events too, like ring making, jewelry, like spa nights, dinners, like all those types of things, just to get women together and connect over the journey of starting a business.
Of entrepreneurship.
That's
just
the
really
quarterly thing, like the meetings that you guys do.
Yeah, that's like kind of part of it, but not really. I just try to gather it's another initiative. There's like too many things going on. I try to gather quarterly, not just female entrepreneurs, but women in business within the state.
Oh, cool.
So we just do meetups we've had them at Traeger, at Rev Road, Bridal at Pope. We've done them all over, and we just get women who are in business, whether you're like any type of business, digital marketing, like executive level leadership, HR, and we just get together and kind of have like a meetup where we talk, and there's usually like speakers and stuff, but I try to do those once a quarter.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
So the story that I'm hoping that you remember, maybe you don't, is you planned this trip to Morocco with all these incredible women, and it was around the same time that the earthquake there happened.
Yes, yeah.
And I was told that you were actually supposed to do Morocco for like a lot longer than you guys did. Yeah. And you cut it short, and you didn't have a reason why. You just felt like you should.
Yeah, well, so there was kind of a reason. There was, we had planned to do an extension, so we were 7 days in, I don't know how the layout of Morocco very well, but we were 7 days up in a different area closer to like Spain, and Morocco's really close to Europe in that way. And then we were going to head south towards like the Sahara and stuff. And that's where the earthquake was in Marrakesh. And the high Atlas Mountains and stuff. So we were going to be down in that area, and we had an extension plan, but we didn't get enough women to commit to it. So there was like, we needed like 4 or 5 to like have it make sense for us to extend it financially, but we didn't get enough to commit. So then we were like, okay, we're just not going to do it. So we all left on like a Thursday night and Friday morning. And I think the earthquake was a Saturday, or maybe it was a Tuesday night, Wednesday, but it was like within 24 hours of us leaving, the earthquake hit, which was really crazy. But it was a really beautiful experience in a lot of ways too, because we rallied together right after that. We put together an auction with a lot of the founders that had traveled with us. And I can't remember how much we raised, but like 10,000 plus for relief efforts over in Morocco. So it was really cool.
And you're super involved with a lot of other nonprofit, like raising money.
I try to.
So what are some other ones that you're involved with?
One that I'm really passionate about, I have friends that are connected with it. They started it, is the Policy Project. Okay. And they've had 3 different initiatives. One was the Period Project, which they got tampons and pads in K through 12 high schools in Utah.
Wow. Okay.
The legislature passed a bill that put that into action so that it's state funded. Wow. So schools have to require that now. And then last year they did the Teen Center Project, which was they got funding so that at high schools can build out these teen centers so homeless youth have a place to go to like take a shower and wash their clothes, and there's like a pantry. Wow. So that's rolling out. And then this year they're doing the Safe Child Project, which is, and I think the legislative session is still in session for like a couple more weeks or a week or so. And they are doing the Safe Child Project, which is an initiative to help like sexual abuse awareness in schools.
Amazing.
Wow.
So that's what I'm really passionate about. I've done a lot with the IRC, which is the International Rescue Committee, which provides relief in like Syria, Afghanistan, all over a lot of war-torn countries. Some local initiatives with like refugees. But yeah, it's the best.
She's always reaching out for like just raising money or awareness.
Yeah,
like always. Like I feel like I don't know where you find the time. It's just
I don't know where I find the time.
You're like mom of 3, business owner, and
it's wild.
Like just giver of all things. It seems like that's amazing.
I've got a question though. Why?
Why? That's a great question.
Why? What in you is like this is? I just feel the need to give back.
Oh, Sorry, I was getting a dry throat.
You're good.
I feel very fortunate with where we are with our business and the connections that we've been able to make. And Colby and I are very spiritual and religious people. And so I feel very called to give back. Like that's something that I'm very passionate about. Like if we've been given and blessed so much from God, who we believe in, then I also think that it's our duty to give back and help support those around us. And giving back, specifically to our communities, like locally, is really important. I love doing stuff international, like what we did with Morocco, but there's so much need here in Utah. So yeah, I think that's my why. I just love, I feel so passionate about helping others and giving back. Like if we're in a position to do so, then we need to take every opportunity.
Have you always been like that? Like
I was gonna say, I
like
feel
childhood Mckenzie, teenager Mckenzie, were you like that?
Yeah,
Colby
I
shaking
think
his
so.
head yes.
Well, I didn't know her as a teenager, but that's a good question.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously as a teenager, I think you're a little bit more like disgruntled by like service opportunity.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. Your parents are like, okay, we're going to go down to South Provo and clean out the flower beds. And you're like, all I want to do on a Saturday is sleep. But I feel like that's been ingrained in me.
Okay.
Like that mindset of service and giving and,
your mom and dad are both.
Yeah, my mom and dad are both very generous and very giving people, and my mom's like the most thoughtful person you could ever meet. So I think that I think it's just kind of been part of who I am, and I really want to instill that in our daughters as well, that like we are a family that thinks about others and is concerned about the well-being of those around us. And so I think that like it has to start with us. I mean, my parents did a great job. My grandparents were also very giving, so I saw it modeled, but I really feel like that it's important to model it for my daughters as well, that we're not just on our own island in this world, that like every decision we make, everything we do affects those around us. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on this.
Fun.
I'm going to put you on the spot because I just feel like I should ask you this question.
Yes, please.
what is something that you do for you? Like you wear
yeah,
a
that's
lot
a
of
good
hats.
question. I love reading.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something that I've fallen in love with recently.
You shared with us right before this. You've read 16 books this year,
Yes.
which we're like a month and like
Yes, it's
2
barely
weeks into the
February.
year.
Yeah, I am really proud of myself. I love reading. Colby got me a sewing machine for Christmas. I used to sew more. Like I had the sewing machine when we got married and we were, I had dabbled a little bit, could do the basics, but I just got a sewing machine for Christmas and I've gotten into quilting, which I
Oh,
love.
fun. Okay,
yeah, I
fun.
love it. Just almost done with my first quilt of the year. And I love cooking. I love
These are all grandma hobbies. She
yeah,
calls
I'm
it.
a grandma. These are my granny hobbies.
I'm turning into a grandma as well.
Yes, it's
So
the
we can have
best.
grandma hobbies together.
It's the best.
I just
It's
started to
like-
try to learn how to knit the other day.
Yes,
So yeah.
I love it. I love it. I think it's a call to like slower, more like sustainable and meaningful life. Like I think that like more thoughtful.
Yes.
Yeah, and I will try to work out regularly, go on walks. So I do try to make time for myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's
Even if
good.
it's like 15 minutes a day just reading, I try to.
We need that.
I'll say one thing we've had to figure out as a married couple that works together
Yeah.
is the balance of just the who's watching the girls versus who gets time to go to the gym, or
Yes.
like
Yeah.
that's a very communal effort, mutual effort. That's not like a this is your we not that traditional roles are bad. It's just that we can't afford to do that. Just it
Yeah.
doesn't work that way for us. So we're very flexible. So like
Yeah.
if she calls me at 2:30, you got to pick up the girls at 3, and I didn't know, it's okay, I got to figure
gotta
out my
go,
schedule. Yeah, I got to like drop a meeting or whatever, and that's just
Yeah,
how it
Colby's
goes.
really
Because
great at that.
she'll also flex for me too. Like it's just how it goes. Like last night, you had your Galentine's party
Yeah.
with like 20 women at our house, and like she's just like, can you take the girls for the night? It's like easy, yeah, take them to
Yeah.
Nickelcade,
I love that.
City, yeah.
But then she'll let me go like skate seriously, if I ever ask, like, can I go skate? Yeah, go ahead, like do your thing, or
Wow.
guys trips or whatever it is. It's like we just have
Yeah.
kind of learned to realize like we need that flexibility for our own balance, and so it's
Yeah.
give and take.
Yeah, and to honor the spaces that you need to like take care of your own mental health and your own emotional well-being, and then vice versa. Yeah, it's been really important.
We watched, both of our parents are very like that generation, I think more so too, is like very traditional in that
Yes.
like our dads would go to work from 9 till 5 or even later. Like my dad traveled a lot, and then mom stays home with the kids, and that's okay. That, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, but the beauty of having to work and flex like that, you have like, we know what each other's doing for the most of the day, whereas like in those traditional roles, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Like for the mass majority of your life, you don't even know what your spouse is worried about, stressed about, the personnel that they're working with, the initiatives they're working on at work, or whatever it is, right? Like they just don't. And then vice versa for the mom at home or the parent at home, it's like the stresses they're dealing with the kids, or trying to sign them up for soccer practice, or just be a cab driver all day, whatever it is.
Yep.
It's like, so when we get to share those, we gain sympathy and respect for one another.
It's
in
very
that
collaborative.
It's been good for us to see that side, that like both jobs are just as difficult.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So I have to ask though, because we're talking about all good things. Have there ever been like super crazy hard times in your guys' relationship while you've been doing this together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have there
so
been?
many.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
How
yeah.
have you guys worked through that? What does it look like? Things
Yeah.
like that. Because even with Lauren and I, like the clients that we take as coaches, doing that together is difficult, right? And us working together, and even you saying like, hey, we have to take turns with the kids and things like that. That's something that we go through every single day as well, right? So, and it takes a toll on your relationship a lot too. So,
Yeah.
Definitely.
I value my freedom more than pretty much anything.
yes. Okay, cool.
And so early on in our marriage, my biggest fear was that like we were spending literally 24 hours a day together. Like
Yeah.
when we were working around the clock together. And there was a part of me where I needed some space. I needed my own individual life, but we were so tied. And we both have anxiety. Like we're
Okay.
both also we actually have the very similar personalities.
Yeah.
Stubborn in some regards, definitely not afraid to share our mind, passionate people. So obviously you're going to get some contention.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
so
Just a
yeah,
little.
definitely had like plenty of blow up arguments, especially early on in our marriage. Like in our first 2 years of marriage, we had a lot of like really heart to hearts that I don't think most couples either ever get there, or it takes them till like they're retired where they're actually around each other for 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful. The 2 years were hard, but we had conversations, and I would say the best thing about Ken's and I is we do not hold on to it. So we might blow up, and it's like it might last for an hour at the most, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And then it's like, then it's just like you forgive and you grow from it. That's the key component.
Yeah.
Is what did we learn here? Like, how do we not fall into this again? So it's compounded this progression and this like level of understanding and communication. It's taken 9 years of working together and marriage and parenting together to get to like a point where I feel like that respect is like at its all-time high.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we still, I mean, we had a big argument a couple of weeks ago. Like,
they never go away. That always
never
happens.
go away. So there's been issues like that, but there's also been a lot of other, and some of those arguments are regarding work and the trajectory of the business or decisions that are being made. Some of them are personal with our kids and our family, but a lot of them have, some of the challenges that we faced have been due to the fact that Colby's mom is addict, a recovering addict. Is that what you say?
Yeah, there's like people say they're always recovering alcoholic. I don't like that because I feel like you can just be recovered.
Yeah,
you know?
But yeah, she, like when we were married, she was in jail, and when we moved back to Utah, she was released from jail, and we were the only ones in Utah. So there was a burden on our shoulders of taking care of her and making sure that she was safe.
Wow.
Which was really hard.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and that was like part of our marriage till 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that's presented a lot of problems too. I think a lot of people outside looking in are probably think that our life looks pretty perfect. I think that that's the one of the faults of Instagram, right? It's like the highlight reel, and so but there's been plenty of challenges and a lot of hard conversations and decisions that we've had to make over the 10 years that we've been together.
Yeah. There's a person I follow on Instagram that says that you haven't gone through entrepreneurship until you like are up at night thinking, what do I do next?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure you guys have been in that position.
Always.
Oh yeah.
Right. Always.
Every single night.
Yeah.
I know. I couldn't sleep last night. Yeah, it's every night. For
right.
Sure. Which is the beauty, honestly, for me. That's what drives me. The question mark is what makes it fun. Like, what are we gonna do next? Like always, what do we get to build? What problem do we have to solve? You know, it's like
you turn into a problem solver for everything. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not motivated by a 9 to 5 where like I don't have to live with that question mark. Like I want to have that because it means that I'm working on something I really care about, and that that it's like we're building something. So I don't know. Yeah, like I'd trade that for 9 to 5 any day.
See, that's the mentality we're looking for.
I
That's
love
amazing.
that. And I love that you brought up questioning. Like one of the biggest things that Matt and I are like huge believers in is like question-based living, as far as like questioning everything. And like there's always a questioning to everything that you do, whether like, and there's really no good or bad. It's just questioning it. And like, why is this making me uncomfortable? Why am I anxious about this? Like, why did this make me so happy? And like, why am I choosing to do this? So I love that you brought that up, especially like in your business and in your guys' relationship, where it's like, it's constant questioning of just like, what are we going to do next? What am I going to create next? And how like the excitement happens for you in that, which is so cool.
Yeah.
You talked about anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And I know that we're going to talk about carry on for a little bit, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I want you to introduce that. But before we do that, we have an 8-year-old son. His name's Bodie. And we were trying for the longest time to figure out what to put him in. Like,
I'm gonna cry. Sorry. Like it's like so close.
Cry away.
Yeah.
We love it.
Baseball, football, all the things. And we found that like every team sport, he just didn't stick with. And it was because he's such an individual person, right? Yeah. And Lauren came across, she knew Davey. and she came across Carry On, and we sent him to Carry On. And there's been such a big difference in the way that he carries himself, the confidence that he has, the mental breakthroughs that he's gone through. Like, we saw this kid absolutely grow within a matter of 4 months. Wow. But I would love for you now setting the precedent.
It was like, I have to say, like,
Yeah.
I just have to say thank you. Like, that was one of the biggest reasons, like, us reaching out. I mean, obviously Thread's incredible. Like, I think I've owned a Thread wallet since you guys, like, started.
Yeah, we have.
Which is awesome. But, like, and we love your bags and all of those things. But, like, Carry On was something that, like, found us in such, like, an amazing time in our, like, personal lives where, like, both Matt and I have struggled with, like anxiety, suicidal thoughts, all of those things. And I've always wondered, like, okay, are our kids going to deal with this? Like, is this something that we're going to help our kids go through? And first grade.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The answer is yes. But first grade for Bodhi was really hard. Like, just like he would come home and he just
tore him down.
It really tore him down.
Yeah.
And I was like, where did this, like, bright, amazing, sweet boy go? Like, he would come home and say things, and I was just like, this isn't him. And I was so defeated as a mom. I was like, I don't even know what to do. And Carry On just kind of fell in my lap. And I was like, he doesn't even know how to skateboard. I don't know what I'm doing. Matt doesn't know, like, but screw it. Like, we're sending him. Like, he's going. And we signed up, and it was like, I think maybe 2 weeks of lessons, and his entire mentality shifted. And, like,
So cool.
it was so cool. So tell us about Carry On, and then we'll continue to share fun stories about how Carry On has changed our personal life.
I love that.
Man, yeah, wow, thank you. So I'm going to tie back the two topics we just went over. So asking questions and some of this pain that we're talking about,
Yeah.
I think they're so connected because you don't often ask questions if things are comfortable. When you start to ask questions when things hurt, and then even when they hurt, you kind of get used to them unless they hurt too much.
Yeah.
And when they hurt too much, then you go to a doctor and you ask, here's the symptoms. What is it?
Yeah.
Please, why am I feeling this? And then you find a diagnosis. And I think that's a pattern of life. Like, you should be asking those questions. How can I gain mental health? How can I gain physical health? How can I overcome these things? But we don't ask those questions sometimes until it's hurting, you know? And so it's pretty fresh for me. Like, even within our business, we've had to ask some hard questions that it had to get painful. It had to get painful enough to be able to have those questions arise and feel those symptoms. And then we're able to ask them, answer them, find solutions, and we're all better because of it, similar to Bodhi's experience.
Yeah.
Going back in my own life and in my mom's life, I'll take my mom as a child for a second. She grew up in a home where her dad was an alcoholic. He ended up leaving the family, and so she was pretty much raised by a single mother. And she has a brother and a sister, and she always had to be the rock for the family. And then when I was born, so there's 4 of us at this point. I'm the youngest, and when I was 2 years old, my uncle, my mom's brother, committed suicide from severe depression and addiction. And really, if you look at his life, he was searching for some sort of solution, medicine, whatever. He couldn't find a solution. He couldn't find a Carry On, right?
Yeah.
Or medicine or clinical attention. He just couldn't find it. And so then he resulted in self-medication, which was drugs.
Okay.
And then drugs just is a deep, dark hole.
Yeah.
And of depression, and he ended up committing suicide. So that's his experience. That then, my grandma had came to visit us in Arizona, and my mom was grieving, and she was crying, and my dad, 2 weeks after my uncle died, and my dad said, "Oh, you're still crying about that." Pretty hurtful, right? Like thinking about this, and I don't say this, my dad's not a villain in the story, but it highlights that generation, right? Of like, there's no awareness of mental health.
Yeah.
There was no education around it. They didn't understand. The only thing that they knew was to keep going. And you just rub some dirt in it and you just keep going.
Yeah.
Right? That was the mentality, and my dad's a cowboy, he's like, that was his mentality. So by him saying that, my mom lost her voice. She felt like, okay, now I can't really open up to my own husband about this. I can't even grieve. I can't even cry. I can't even right? Like that she became mute, in that relationship. Anyway, so my grandma came to visit, and my grandma drinks wine to kind of help. And and she left the bottle of wine in the fridge. And when my grandma left, my mom decided to figure out what that was all about.
Okay.
And that sparked a 30-year addiction to alcohol. And throughout the years, obviously, it wasn't always drinking, but it's just a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Opioid addiction and alcohol, and that resulted in a divorce and 2 other marriages, so 3 marriages total. My sisters we all went through our own pains of that. As a 14-year-old, this is when I started to experience pain. Bodhi's an 8-year-old kid. I was a 14-year-old kid, really struggling at this point, feeling like my dad just betrayed me. I didn't know the whole story, so I felt betrayed by my dad. My mom's addicted to opioids and methadone at the time. My youngest sister, who was the only one with us, was also struggling. And so I had to figure out what I was feeling a lot of pain. This is really where I found God. But I started asking those questions, and I started to think like, what is this all for? I kept asking that same exact question I'm going to cry. Asked that for like 15 more years, 16 more years, almost every night. Like, why hasn't she been able to kick this thing, I'm telling you, there's stories of having to take a gun and knock on this dude that was taking advantage of my mom, like knock on his door and threaten to like give me my mom back, that stuff. And drop my mom off on the streets of Salt Lake City in the freezing cold with nowhere to go. Like that's to the extent of this addiction, right? And so wanting to know the answer was pretty I was desperate for an answer. You fast forward to 2020, the world's hurting, and at Thread we've always wanted to give back, and so one of this campaign we did, we call it Carry On, and the world needed some stories of pick me up and keep going. And so we told some really fun stories of our ambassadors and how they overcame their own trials and things. And that resonated with me of just like, that's the message that I want Thread to stake its flag in. That's the hero slogan. And so we did that. That became our hero slogan, Carry On. And then during this time, my mom relapsed 2020. She lost her job and she was homeless. She had broken her arm. Her arm was disconnected from the elbow, like dangling. Oh, no. Woke up on the streets of Salt Lake with a bruised face, broken rib, the lowest of low, covered in vomit and her own feces. Like it was like I was praying for her to die because it was not a life worth living. Yeah. And so praying that my anxiety at this time was just out the roof. I could not grasp it, to the point where in 1 week I had 3 panic attacks, like just hyperventilating. Yeah. And just being in a closet, like trying to like hold on. And luckily Ken's was, by me to hold me even when I didn't feel like it. And but I got some clinical attention. I saw a therapist, got on some medicine, and here's kind of the turning point was I was praying and I asked, what can I do? Because I felt like I was so out of control. Like I couldn't help. I couldn't do anything. And I remember thinking the answer was, you've been given a gift of a brain that thinks differently. Like stop trying to think, like pigeonhole your mom into thinking that rehab, the traditional way, is going to work. Yeah. What's going to work for your mom? And so it got me to answer that question. And it was recreation. She loved hiking and she loved creativity. She's an artist. And I was just like, let's go do a craft. And like, she needs a purpose. She needs a reason for living and a reason to give back. And so the next day I went and picked her up, and she was still like sobering up. But I invited my sisters down and we wrote a children's book about a story of hope, as a Christmas story. It's called Cece's Magical Christmas Tree. This was in like end of November, right?
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, and we wrote this book together, and we talked about that night. I said, Mom, you really have a gift and a passion for children's books. Why don't you use this? And why don't you use all the things you've learned through this crazy experience to teach the parents and the kids through these children's books? Mm-hmm. And she started to see this vision of what life could be like and this purpose for her. And she checked herself into rehab and has been sober for 3.5 years ever since.
Way.
And so when I told you earlier that she's restarting, she's starting that now. She's writing books. She published her first one in November.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
that Cece's
Yeah.
Magical Christmas Tree
Yeah.
that you guys your art day, you went to Joann's and
Yeah.
loaded up on crafts and just crafted for hours at the house.
That's amazing.
So in all that, it's kind of a long story, but the answer took 30 years for me. Well, I should say more so realistically, 16 years of asking the same question of why is this happening? It took me 16 years to finally get an answer, which was all of that was just softening the soil so that we could just bloom. And it was this carry-on narrative that I had to come to realize, and this mental health narrative of like, we need to help kids. We need to help so that my uncle, maybe, who knows, maybe if he just had some self-awareness, maybe he had some mental skills, and maybe my mom, if she had some skills and some education around, maybe things would have been differently. I don't know, but I'd like to hope so. And so if I can help families, if I can help kids build those skills early before things hit the fan, because it's inevitable that they will.
Yeah.
Can we prep them? Can we prep their minds? Can we prep their mental health so that when things happen, they're ready? And so that's what Carry On's about. Luckily, it's fun because we get to do it through skateboarding. We get to do it through, we're launching outdoor programs this year. So that looks like rock climbing and mountain biking. And we're going up to Deer Creek to go paddleboarding.
Oh my gosh.
We're partnered with Sundance. So we're going to do mountain biking and we'll do zip line activities and fun stuff like that. Eventually we want to do ski and snow up at Sundance.
Okay.
And this gets broader than just Provo, but, and then surfing too. So there's all action sports and outdoor recreation. They just have this they have all the ingredients to teach people resilience, because it's fear-based.
Yeah.
There's a lot of falling. It's community, and it just builds your confidence. So we landed on something that we're all passionate about, and we feel like we can help kids. And so I cried because Bodie's a perfect example,
He
right?
is.
8 years old. I watched Ray, who's 7, our little girl, and she's just starting to act in these acting classes, and I picked her up, and she hasn't done Carry On for a year, but she goes, Dad, I was in the red mindset. I was so scared.
Yes.
And we teach these kids how to get from a red mindset to a green mindset. And she's like, I was so scared to go up there. I closed my eyes. I told myself I could do it, did my hero stance, and I went up there, and I was like, how awesome. That translates. It translates to acting, to eventually it's, getting a job, going into college, relationship, these skills, the rising generation, they need it, and especially now more than ever before, because they're just faced with so much.
To give a little bit of background, because you didn't mention this, you had the idea, your mom was going through this, and you're like, okay, I want to do something to help others and give back. And then it all worked out really beautifully, where you found an amazing sports psychologist. So not only do you have the means to teach kids skateboarding and all these really cool sports, but you guys have developed out a really cool curriculum that helps teach kids these mental health skills and resilience. So it's not just we're gonna
just not a bunch of skaters do it. These guys are educated, a master's in sports psychology and data. It's all data backed, so but we have to dumb it down. Maybe sounds like a bad phrase, but dumb it down to a kid level, right? How can a kid consume
your hero
this?
stance, your
exactly.
red green mindset?
But I even think those things have been so influential even to us, having a child that's gone through the program, and we will continue to always. I'm our daughter, who's the most girly little thing in the whole entire. She's like, can I go? When can I go? And I'm I love that it's creating a space for her to try new hobbies that as a girl I would have never even thought
Totally.
twice about it. And I'm like, do a women's class so I can come. It was like it was on my goals this year to learn how to skateboard, because I'm like,
that.
again, it's fear-based. It's like, I want to push myself out of my comfort zone. But you talked a lot about like the red mindset. And Matt has a cool story with
Which one?
with Bodhi teaching you the mindsets.
Well, I just remember the day that he came back, and I was like, what'd you learn today? Because I would pick him up, and it's the coolest thing, because I'm 31, and I'd never touched a skateboard until I was 30 years old. Never, right? Like, I grew up skiing and things like that. And he's like, I want a skateboard. And I said, done, let's do it. Because it's an individual sport. Because, like I said, we were seeing that, like, with the team sports, for me, the team sports I was amazing at.
Yeah.
But they killed me. Because, like, I had to rely on somebody else, right? And so as an adult, I was like, hold on, I can't really rely on myself. Like, I don't really trust myself.
Yeah.
And so I had to go back and kind of fix all of that with myself. And so I was like, if my kid's just like me, then we're not going to do it that same route, right?
Yeah.
And so I pick him up from skate camp, carry on one day, and I was a little reluctant because I hadn't touched a skateboard. And I was like, why am I going to put you in a skateboard camp, right?
Yeah.
And at this time, Lauren and I were going through a lot as a couple and as individuals. And we were on this journey, we like to call it, of breaking out of like our own mental droughts. And so I had really like leaned into meditation and breath work to kind of get me through that time.
Cool.
And I pick up my kid from carry on, and I said, what'd you learn today, bud? And he said, Dad, we learned how to circle breathe. And like for me, I just implemented that probably like less than a year in my life. I had been breathing and tried to teach it to him, and like nothing would stick, and like kids are kids and they don't listen to their parents half the time. So, but he taught me circle breathing, and I was like, please teach me this, right? And so he's like, you take a deep breath in, and it's like you're going in a circle, and then you hold it, and then you let it go, and he just kept going. And I was like, what does that do for you, right? He said, Dad, it makes me feel so much better, right? And just as a kid saying that, like, he said, I was really, really sad because I couldn't drop in. He's like, I didn't know how to drop in. And then we learned circle breathing that day. And I did circle breathing, and then I was finally able to drop in because I believed in myself. And I was like,
awesome.
okay.
That's so cool.
And I said, what other things have you learned? Because like we converse, but I'd like get into him a little bit to see like, what have you learned, right? He talked about how kind of our lives are like waves. I don't know if you remember that you guys teach. Okay.
Oh yeah, I have. Cole showed me. Yeah.
That the waves just keep getting bigger and they're inevitable, and you can keep getting knocked down until you actually just start to ride. And then the other one that he like loves is the red, yellow, and green.
Yeah.
Because
Mindsets.
every time that he would fall down in an organized sport, he would freak out. Every time that he couldn't catch the ball or do the thing perfectly, he would freak out. And I was just like, this isn't working. And so when he came back and told me that, like, I'm just in the car just crying. I'm like, I'm an empath and I'm very, very emotional. And I'm just crying because I'm just like, dude, had I known this when I was little,
Right. Yeah.
like, I don't talk when I'm crying as well as you do, but had I known this when I was little, like, I could have expedited this whole process of me being in these low states my whole life. So,
Dude, that's
so whatever you guys put on, my kid will be in.
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
But seriously, truthfully, like it has been so cool to watch him take the concepts that he's learned there, and like kind of like you talked about with your mom, like soften the soil so we can bloom. It's like I genuinely feel like what you're doing is creating opportunities for these youth to learn these things and then go forward and plant the little seeds with their friends and with their parents. Like our kids are our greatest teachers, and it's so amazing. So thank you for doing that.
And thank you for sharing. That's not easy,
yes,
man.
thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for investing in your kids' well-being. You know,
For sure.
and luckily you're fortunate to do that and have, you know, those resources. And we want to make sure that it's accessible to all.
Yeah. No, it truly is like a life-changing program. Like I'm like, I don't know. I remember when we found it and Bodhi like came home and I was like, okay, I don't even know. Like I didn't know you guys were a part of it. I just knew Carry On, and I was like, I don't know who created this, but I want, like, if I ever like fall into just a crap ton of money, I'm like, it's all going towards this organization. Like,
Me too.
It's the best thing I've ever found. Like, I was like, okay,
So
I
cool.
love it so
I'll
much.
pay you later for saying that.
No, I'm serious though. Like, it is like just amazing. So thank you for sharing like just your talents
cool.
and all of that in in a program and giving back that
I didn't
way.
expect to cry.
Me neither. Wow.
So
That's
I think that
amazing.
might be a podcast first.
There you go.
We like to do that, right?
I kind of want to hear this Taylor Swift story.
Oh gosh. It doesn't have as like emotional of an ending.
No,
as that
but there was
story
so
But
much
did.
it's
drive
so
at it,
amazing,
yeah.
like
Oh, it was
so
fun.
incredible. I
Yeah.
was so invested.
I just thank you. Yeah, I woke up one morning. We'd just been talking about like initiatives to really make some waves for Thread this year, and we've had like celebrities purchase from us before. Simone Biles has bought from us and
Oh, cool.
posted. Yeah, it was really cool. So we've had like little things here and there, but nothing ever like big. So I woke up one morning and I was like, oh my gosh, like what would be the biggest thing in the world is if Taylor Swift had our product.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to make this happen one way or another. So
Yeah, you don't mess with Mckenzie when she.
I
has,
love that.
You know what I mean?
I
when
love
she
that.
has something in her head, it's like it's on. It's going to
yeah,
happen.
so I
Yeah.
just like that morning I went on and bought some really cool vintage Chiefs jackets because I was like, I think if we're gonna do anything to get our product in her hands, it has to be that route. Like
Yeah.
that seems the most like attainable. Yeah. Anyway, it just seems the most reachable. So I bought these beautiful vintage Chiefs jackets on Etsy, and then I found a local seamstress, and this was all in about like a 4 or 5 day time span. And then I got her product, and she like basically created like her own like pattern based on our product. She like deconstructed the whole thing and made these 2 really cool Chiefs bags. And I had told our product team, I was like, if you guys help me make these bags, I will get them in the hands of Taylor Swift. Like I will do
Yeah.
whatever it takes. So we got the bags finished on like Wednesday night they were done Thursday afternoon. And I posted on social media, like, I'm going to get these bags into the hands of Taylor Swift. Like, anyone know how to help me? And we were lucky enough to be connected with someone that's on the Chiefs team.
Cool.
And yeah, so they were like, yeah, if you get the bags to us, like, we'll make sure they get in Travis Kelce and Pat Mahomes' lockers.
Yeah.
So we made one for each of them, with the idea that hopefully they'd give them to like Brittany Mahomes and Taylor Swift. And
Wait, hold on. So somebody at the team said, if you get it to them, we'll put it in their locker.
yeah.
So you had like an assurance. Cool.
Yeah, there's a few caveats with that. So we were like, okay, we talked to this person and the team flew out to Baltimore to play the Ravens on Saturday. And this was Thursday. So we were like, okay, we can overnight them, but they might get in tomorrow night at 5 or 6 and the team's not done at practice. So we're like, the only way where this is going to happen is if we fly out today. So we bought same day tickets to Kansas City. Hopped on a flight that night. So again, this is like in 5 days. I like got the jackets to the seamstress, I think on a Tuesday or Monday.
Yeah.
Monday or Tuesday. We flew out Thursday. Pulled up to this football player's house in Kansas City at like 10:30 at night. And, I maybe gave away too much information about who this person was, saying that he's a player. They've got a big team. And we took him to these bags. We made these beautiful, I thought they were beautiful.
They are stunning.
Some people on TikTok were like, that's so creepy and stalkerish. I'm like,
No.
these are cool. Back
No,
off.
it was so cool and like
yeah,
so
bro.
personal and like so badass. Like
Oh, thanks.
haters
It was
can
fun.
back off because it was so cool. So cool.
Yeah, we took him to this house, this person's house who's a member of the Chiefs organization, and they delivered them to Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce's lockers the next day at practice at the practice facility on Friday before they flew out. So I don't know if they like opened the boxes. They could have just set them aside. You know,
Yeah.
Travis Kelce in his podcast has talked about how when they get packages, he just usually just like asks the team or like the people who receive the packages at the stadium to just like donate them or things like that because he gets so much stuff sent.
Right.
Okay.
So he might not have opened it, but I'm hoping that because it was like a personalized box and not just like in a UPS box
Yeah.
or something, that maybe they opened them, hopefully, and maybe we'll see them next year. I don't know. If not, it was a fun story and kind of went viral on TikTok and Instagram. But then we also, in the process, got Jason Kelsey's address.
Okay, so did you send one to Jason?
So the seamstress is finishing up custom Philly bags for
Because
his
we
family.
are, so I don't know if you know this, but well, I shouldn't say Matt, but like my family is crazy Eagles fans. Like
really?
they've been in the
cool.
promo videos, and so
Whoa.
I was like, I knew we were making one for the Eagles, and I
Yeah.
was like, she's also making an Eagles one. So
Yeah, so we've got
Yeah.
we were making them for like the whole family. So we've
my
got one
gosh,
for
so
Donna
cool.
and I think Ed and Jason and his wife Kylie, and then we made like a mini one for their daughter Wyatt.
oh, cute.
And then we're gonna include one for like Taylor and Travis too. So it's like the whole family is gonna
Oh,
be geared out. So
cute.
hopefully, if the package didn't get there, they'll get these. Like we have Jason Kelsey's address, so it's like they will get there.
They're gonna get in the hands, or they'll see them somehow.
Somehow they'll see them. I hope.
but
But
that's
you know,
amazing.
it was crazy. So Taylor Swift, you know, not plot twist, but she didn't wear our bags to the Super Bowl or the game against the Ravens, but it was still really cool.
But
fun
still,
experience.
like, just the fact that you were like, I have this idea, I'm gonna execute it. Like, talk
it's
about
fun.
not letting fear get in the way of something. Like, that's incredible. Because so many people would have been like, no, it's too much work.
It's easy to talk yourself out of it.
So easy, and you were just like,
Yeah.
no, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, it was fun. And it was just
Swing
like
for the fences.
Yeah, swing for the fences. But I think our team, like sometimes at the beginning of the year, like it's nice to have like a little. We can do this. Like anything that we set our mind to, like we can make it happen.
It was a win
So
across the board. Whether we knew that, like, I think it was a win. The content that was posted was
the
got a
content
lot of
was great,
attention.
yeah.
The message it was sending to our
Yeah.
team, and just get like Mckenzie as the leader of like the marketing, just to show that you know
Yes.
that and get that energy.
yeah, it was fun.
It's a win. Like even if it didn't like actually happen the way we wanted, and maybe we still have all next season
We have
too.
all
You
next
do.
season, yeah.
Well, and I think it just goes to show, like, even outsiders, like outside looking in, like, you can do anything you put your mind to, and that's literally what you did, which is like
Yeah. Oh,
follow
thank
your
you.
dreams,
It was
and
fun.
like you're doing like such incredible things. I don't think you guys give yourself enough credit of like the amazing things and the amazing impact that you have on so many people. You really do, and like you gotta pat yourself on the back a little bit more because you guys are amazing.
I always wonder
Thank you.
with people in your same situation that have started a company and have seen success, like what actually, like how your personal lives are and things like that. And so this has been really, really refreshing to get to know you guys, because I think that we pedestalize relationships like yours, right? And I think for everybody out there is just like what Lauren said, if you want to start something, you want to go do something, use you guys as an example of like, hey, just trust yourself and go get it done, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so nice to see how normal's the only word that comes up to me, but like how whole you guys are just as a couple and as individuals. And so thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you. I already told you this before the podcast, but thanks for letting us share the story. Like sometimes, you know, that was a good cry. I needed that cry.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, thanks for letting us share with your audience too.
Yes.
And
Yeah, thank you.
I
It's a
think
great
to me,
opportunity.
the last thing I guess I'll say is like, if we want to break the stigma of mental health, or any stigma for that matter, like vulnerability is our hammer.
Yeah.
You know, like we have to use vulnerability, and you know, Mckenzie and I are afraid to be vulnerable. And yeah, I hope that, you know, parents can see that vulnerability is healthy for their kids. I think you often think that you're protecting them by not being vulnerable, or like, you know, you're protecting yourself and your reputation by not being vulnerable. It's actually can come back with vengeance, and I've seen it, you know, in other people's lives. So I think it's scary. It's naturally scary to be vulnerable, but thanks for the opportunity that we can be vulnerable with you guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for doing that and for being so authentic and vulnerable and sharing your story with us. You guys are amazing. If you guys enjoyed this week's episode, drop us some questions and we'll try to get them over to you guys and see if you can answer
love
them.
it.
But
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
we love you guys, and we are so grateful that you guys tuned in to this week's
Honestly.
episode. Go buy something from Thread. They're amazing. I've owned, like I said earlier, like I literally own like
We have so much stuff.
so
in Thread.
many like crossbodies. My kids love them. They're amazing. The wallets, everything. Like our nanny showed up today and she had one, and anyways, they're everywhere. And they're worth every
that.
penny. So go
you.
run over to
thanks.
Thread Wallets and purchase something from them. Not only are they incredible, but they're freaking awesome products. So
And sign your kid up for carry on too.
if you're in Utah, come to Carry On. We can carpool or something. I don't know. So anyways, we love you
I love that.
guys.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you guys.